everybody, and welcome to a very unique webinar as we unpack a feature overview of our latest iteration of our software, SuperMate. If we haven't met before, my name is Garry Johnston, and I'm the National Manager of Software Sales here at SuperConcepts. And today I'm joined by our Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Andy Forbes. Great to see you again, Andy.
G'day, Gary. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We have plenty to look at over the next hour. The new SuperMate has been in the marketplace for only a very few short months. If anyone is looking for a deep dive on the software and how it works, check out the launch webinar where we demonstrate the end-to-end processing power of the new software. Today, we'll be looking at a more holistic view of the software. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items on the agenda. If you're having any audio issues, sometimes it is best to connect by your phone. We try to make our webinars as audience interactive as possible. There will be some polls, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the question box. Feel free to talk to our team via the chat function. There is a chat function there if you have any comments or observations as we go along. And finally, there will be a recording and some frequently asked questions that we've already got by the pre-registration process that will be made available in the coming days following the webinar. So just look out for that in your email box. All right, we have a jam-packed agenda today as we plan on covering off some very interesting topics before we hand over to Andy for a look at all the cool stuff that's under the bonnet. We'll unpack and debunk some common misconceptions around the migration process. We show you how it's easy to switch. We will go through our extensive range of data feeds already in SuperMate and touch on our ecosystem of integration partners. Andy will then give us a look under the hood as we get some insight around a feature overview of the new SuperMate. One thing we are really proud of is our DataHero, is our work on the DataHero side of things. We'll take a look at what this has to offer for you and how this might be an important piece to your SMSF software processing side. Finally, Andy will finish off with a roadmap forward for SuperMate. So just a little bit of a sneak peek as to what's coming down the line, because we're constantly evolving here at SuperConcepts, and in particular around SuperMate. It's very exciting what's happening in this space over the next few months, so stay tuned for that little bit about what Andy will talk about. Finally, we wrap things up with a Q&A session. So the Q&A session is your chance to ask us anything about the software that you like, or if you have any questions that you need answered, then is your chance. All right, so before we get started today, I wanted to get the audience's thoughts on why changing software is difficult. Now, this isn't limited strictly to SMSF software, it's any kind of software or service. The concept is essentially the same. I have a number of answers here, and if you can select one that best describes your experience, that would be great. Also, if you have any other reasons that aren't listed in the poll, please feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. Let me just make that poll available now for you. So you should see that on your screen right now. And essentially, it is, what are your biggest concerns when it comes to the migration process? Or switching software providers is probably more pertinent, a more pertinent question. Is it the increase in software cost, the costs for the business associated with the change, loss of productivity, staff are resistant to change? We get that a lot. People go, oh, I've always wanted to use it this way, so we don't really want to change. And the last one, it's painful and a time-consuming process. So I'll leave that open for a little bit longer, probably another maybe 20 seconds, so everyone can have a chance to get a vote in. And it looks like we're getting some great answers, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. It's always a really good question, I find, and hopefully we'll give you some great information today about how things are changing. All right, I'm just going to close that now. Thank you. We've got a very large percentage of the people voting, so that's fantastic. I'll close that and then I'll share that. So you should be able to see that on your screen. And for us, it's the painful and time-consuming process. So that's not uncommon. Like, everyone knows that the stigma around changing software providers is that it can often be very time consuming and very challenging, and there's a lot going on in that space at that time. So really appreciate you giving us that kind of interaction there. And it's a great kind of segue into moving into some of what are the common misconceptions around changing software. So as we can see from the results, the migration process isn't easy, as we would all like it to be. If it was a simple click of a button, it would be so easy, right? It isn't like that, and I don't imagine it'll be that way anytime soon. Part of what I wanted to raise was to debunk some of the common myths. You should be at least annually reviewing your software needs to ensure that they still align with the firm's structure and with your current climate. You might have recently lost key accounting staff, and replacing them has been problematic. Well, your accounting software needs should be no different. Cost is important, sure, but so too is making sure that software is doing what you pay it to do. Otherwise, you might have an inefficient and highly expensive piece of software that is eroding your bottom line. So the first migration misconception is that it's expensive. So let's have a look at that. Switching to SuperMate might actually be cheaper than you actually think. It's actually might be cheaper than your current provider. And there could be a very real cost savings given that you're switching to a new software. You might also be surprised that in most cases, the migration process is free when making the switch. So whether that's doing it yourself, obviously that's free then because you've got to do it, or using one of our migration concierge service, which we'll touch on a little bit as well, that also is free of charge to you. The next one is that it is time consuming. Now, from experience, migrations from one software to a different software is actually pretty easy once you understand what you're doing. The problem isn't so much that it's complex, more in the fact that it takes quite a bit of time, and hence why we're talking about time consuming. You can absolutely do this yourself, and it would be time consuming, as I said. But why wouldn't you have someone else do it for you at no cost, saving you time to focus on other areas of your business? Switching to SuperMate gets you access to a complete migration concierge, which means we ensure that all of your current data that is stored in your software is migrated over to SuperMate, ready for use. To give you an idea, our team can migrate in excess of hundreds of funds per week. This should give you peace of mind that the whole migration process won't erode into your productive time. Now that kind of segues beautifully into another migration misconception, in that it requires copious amounts of unproductive downtime. And as someone that's actually done one of these migrations before from an Excel accounting spreadsheet into an SMSF software, 100% right. Back, that was probably, maybe 12, 13 years ago I did that. And yeah, it was a lot of time to get that done. But as with anything, there's always an element of downtime. We know that even when switching, there will be a small element of downtime, especially if you have to do the migration process yourself. Plus, add-on training and a typical migration can absolutely take you months. However, with our team driving the migration, you can be free to continue to work. We adapt to your plan and ensure we hit key milestones along the way. Whilst there may be some initial downtime to get the rhythm of how you want to work with us and how we want to work with you, this is very minimal compared to a traditional migration process, one that we would have seen 10 years ago, where we would would have half the staff down tools for 4 weeks or whatever it is to get all this data into the new software. Times have definitely changed. So the stigma of unproductive time actually doesn't really ring true out as much as you would think. Our goal is to make the process as seamless as possible for you and your business. The last one is training. Learning a new software is kind of like learning a new language. So most of the software in the accounting space these days are very similar. They are designed to with the same end goal. For SMSF, it's to produce a set of accounts, some member statements, a tax return, so they can be independently audited. The only difference in each is that the UI is slightly different. There's some slightly different screens, different look and feel, but generally speaking, most of the things are much the same. So maybe it's not really like learning a new language, but maybe a different dialect of the same language, especially if you're familiar with SMSF processing. If you don't have any experience, then yeah, it can be absolutely problematic, and that's a real concern. And we see that a lot in our business. We do have people coming into our business that haven't used software before. But the beauty of our business is that we're able to train you. We have a dedicated training resource inside SuperMate. You also have access to a very good support team, and they do amazing work if you do get stuck. So there's lots of resources available to you. So you're not just sitting there idly like going, I don't know how this works. So it's really important to know that the training isn't as bad as it once was. Now, the migration concierge service. So we've given you an idea as to what the migration process might look like, but let's have a look at what a typical experience might actually be. So number one is extract fund data. So we go in and extract the data from your current software provider, provide that file to our business, so we can then do all that working behind the scenes for you. In bulk cases, we can assist you by coming down to your office or doing it remotely and pulling the data and bringing it across to our servers. We usually upload that via a file station and have our team work on it from there. So the second part is transition funds. So our team then go to work. So once we got the data from your software, we then go to work. We get our team to really hit the ground running and to get that data up and running and mobilized for you. So basically making all the data that you extracted from your current software available in your iteration of SuperMate. We want you to feel like you don't lose anything by moving one to the other. There's no difference. The data is all the same, right? So that would include bringing across like cost base, history, comparative entries, members information rather, and all that kind of stuff that you would expect to see. But it also includes establishing any existing data feeds that you have in your current software provider and bringing across current year transactions, not to mention ESA capability. So we'll also assist you in that front in making sure that your clients are up to speed with their ESA requirements. Number three is the internal review. So our team complete rigorous data checks and internal quality controls on the data before we make it available back to you via SuperMate. This will give you the added confidence that you can rely on the data that is provided back to you. Lastly, we talk about, release of funds. So then once we've done all that work, we release the funds back to you for work in that financial year. We work with you to identify plans to allow you to work on specific funds. So if you have specific needs and you got specific clients that need their funds done first, we can certainly prioritize funds for you based on what you tell us. So we can mix and match plans to suit your needs. As I said before, we have capacity to do in excess of hundreds of funds per week. So rest assured, no matter how big or small you are, we'll be there to help you every step of the way. That being said, any firm that might not want to use our migration concierge service, that's completely fine. As I said, it is a free service, so there's really very little risk from your point of view. But some people want to do that work themselves. It may be a part of getting to understand the system and all that kind of stuff. And we are absolutely committed to making sure that those clients can do it as well. So the new SuperMate comes equipped with a very handy onboarding tool and a workflow that will allow you to complete these migrations much quicker than you would normally. So you don't lose any efficiencies either way. As I said, our goal is to make your life as easy as possible. All right, I think we're on to poll number 2. So what we'll do, if you have heard me speak before, you'll know I have a real passion for efficiency. So the biggest lever that you can use in your SMSF processing is to ensure that your data feed is directly into your accounting system. It saves you time, it cuts down on manual errors, it allows you to better utilize your time on other income producing revenue streams. So this poll is a reflection of where your current data feed percentage sits inside your business. All right, let's get it up. Let me just do a little bit of that. So you should see that in the screen. And basically, it's a pretty simple question: is what is your current data feed percentage? Less than 20%, 20 to 50, 50 to 80, more than 80, or we don't use data feeds. Now, as I've said to you before, you should be reviewing these things annually. Like if you have an expensive piece of superannuation software that's doing a lot of data feeds, but you're not utilizing it, then why are you really using that piece of equipment? You really want to make sure that you're getting the most out of the bang for your buck that you can possibly get. So making sure you're across where you sit as a business is really important, and it'll save you a heck of a lot of time in the long run. I'm going to leave that open for maybe 10 seconds longer. Sorry, I was just looking for the time, and we'll have a chat about what we see from there. At the moment, looking really solid, and thanks for everyone that's voted. That's good. I'll close that poll now, and I'll share the results. So you can see that for most people, it's more than 80%. That's fantastic. Like if you're having your data feeds working at more than 80%, then that's saving you time already. So that's fantastic. Andy will touch on a few little other areas that you might be able to utilize, such as transaction rules and some matching principles later on, which will be handy as well. All right, let me hide that poll. Let's go to the next one. So SuperMate has an extensive list of data feeds available right now, right out of the box. You can see on the screen just a small selection of the 250 plus data feeds that we currently have in the software. Andy will cover off on the security aspect of data feeds, which is absolutely critical and very important, and why it's important to keep your data secure. You can see all of the major banks available here, and this list will continue to evolve over time, especially with the release of open banking in the not too distant future. And Andy will probably give you some more information about that in our roadmap forward. As we move on to the next screen, we not only have data feed capabilities, but we also have a number of integration partners. And as with the data feeds, these are expanding just the same with every new release of SuperMate. These don't include any of our foreign currency data feeds or integration with our foreign exchange partners, which is already built into our new SuperMate. At present, we support 28 different foreign exchange feeds, and as mentioned, this is always expanding. So you can expect something like your NASDAQ and your London Stock Exchange and all that kind of stuff that would be in there as well. All right, so before we hand over to the main event and Andy giving us a bit of an overview of the features in SuperMate and a roadmap and all that kind of stuff, what I wanted to do is understand a little bit more about you, like what administration services does your firm currently provide? And I'll provide that in a poll for you so you can interact with that. But basically, we know that not everyone's the same as us, right? So we strictly do SMSFs. That's what we've always done. That's what we are here to do. So that's all we do. Every firm's different, and we want to understand a little bit more about your firm and how you guys do things. Is it do you strictly just do SMSFs? Do you have investment portfolios? Do you do small APRA funds? Do you do trusts, companies? Anything else you can think of, or if we've missed, please pop it in the chat, and we're absolutely happy to talk about that. It gives us an idea of who we're talking to and what our audience is and what you guys might like. So Andy will touch a little bit on investment portfolios in his section, but it's good to know exactly what you're looking at. All right, I'll leave that open for another 5 or 6 seconds. Thanks to everyone that's voted. That's fantastic. It looks like a lot of people here are a majority SMSFs, which is great. I mean, that's why we're here, right? So we'll close that now and we will share the results. So you can see that like there is a quite a large mix of people doing both trust companies and super funds. So, you're probably from an accounting firm that has exposure to all three. And, you generally, sometimes you'd have family groups that where you would do not only the trust, the company and the super fund all together. So it's good that that's available, and thank you for participating in that. All right, you probably heard enough of me blabbing for the last little bit. We'll move over to Andy to give us a look at what's coming up.
Great, thanks, Gary. I'll just get my screen shared.
Yep. Just change it over. There you go.
Alrighty, so you should be able to see me now. Okay, thanks, Gary. So I'm now going to provide a high-level overview of the new SuperMate with a few little demos sprinkled in. First, let's set the scene. So SuperMate is a complete end-to-end SMSF administration system. We've nearly completed the first round of portfolio feature set 2. So very soon you'll be able to do both SMSFs and portfolios in the one product. It has a very user-friendly, easy to use interface. We've built overview screens to summarize and take action on key information. When we started this project 18 months ago, we wanted to simplify and streamline processes, and that's what we've done. In any process, there are now less clicks point to point and less screens to work through. This was made possible because the team designing the software can actually do SMSF administration. SuperMate is built by people who get it, and the result is great software. Okay, let's jump in and take a quick look. Okay, so this is an overview webinar, so I won't get into too much detail, but let's take a quick look at the new SuperMate. I've already logged in here and selected a fund. This is the fund overview. It's got a nice layout with key information across a number of cards. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. On the left-hand side, we have the menu system. And across the top, in the top right, you can get the help and support. Now, there is a couple of cool things in this area. There has been this trend over recent years to include a dark mode in your software. Facebook, Google, Windows, LinkedIn, etc. all have a dark mode, and now we do too. Many find dark mode to be easier on the eyes, important for long stints at the computer. It's a simple thing, but I encourage you to try it out. The other neat thing we've introduced is accessing multiple SuperMate instances or companies from the one session. You can change between them here. So this is the list of sites that my login at the moment has access to, and we're working on the demo instance and on the future super fund. All right, so I mentioned portfolios a little bit earlier, so I'll just show you how quickly you can add them. Portfolio, and we support companies, individuals, joint, partnerships, super, and trusts. Now I'll just switch across to one that I have prepared earlier. And the same with SMSFs, we have an overview screen that shows the information that you need at a glance to help serve the customer. Okay, let's go back to SMSFs and talk members and trustees. SuperMate makes tracking member information really easy. You can track contributions and caps easily from the fund overview. You can enter in contributions made to other super funds that the client might have done. You can manage any unused carry forward contributions easily. And with SuperMate, you can also track beneficiaries, insurance, and significant events. You can start and track pensions. We have the full end-to-end pension lifecycle covered. And you can also process member payments with ease. Okay, let's take a quick look at this feature set. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go back to the, back to the SMSF and the fund overview. Okay, so we have some high-level information here. We can see the Future Super Fund has got 3 members. There's Jack, Kylie, and Jeff. Kylie has a binding nomination that lapsed yesterday, and Jeff is missing his TFN. We try to put key alerts like this at your fingertips for awareness and easy correction. Also on this screen is the contribution cap information. We can see Jack has made 15,500 of concessional contributions, and Kylie has contributed 38,000. That's interesting, with a cap of 60. We'll come back to that in a minute. Also, if there are pensions in the fund, you can easily see it on the pension card. So you can see Jeff has a pension and he hasn't taken any of his minimum amount. All right, now let's check out Kylie's contribution, concessional contribution in a bit more detail. Okay, so we can see here, Kylie has a total cap of 60,000. How is that possible? We can see she's actually got an unused carry forward amount of 32,500 and a general cap amount 27,500 to bring the total to 60,000. Okay, great. Let's jump to the members overview now. All right, and we can see that the Kylie, you can update the current insurance, fix the binding nomination. So let's just do that quickly now. And we'll hit edit. And just for argument's sake, we'll put it to The next day, you can put in a note, you can change the percentage that it would be allocated to. You can upload the supporting document and save it. So if we go back to the members card now, yeah, the warning's gone now. All right, so let's talk about pensions quickly. Starting a new pension is really, really simple. You basically just go into the pensions area and it's as simple as clicking the button. So we'll start a pension for Jack here. You set the commencement date, choose the account, the pension type, the condition of release, whether you want to include shared earnings or not. And it shows you the available balance here, which is really useful. And you can choose whether you want to use the full balance or partial and whether it's reversionary or not. So we'll just start that. And there we go. It's as easy as that. We've started the pension. All right, so that's some of the member feature set. What about automation? Okay, there can be a lot of margin pressure on SMSF administrators to do more in less time. SuperMate's automation features help ensure that your practice is ahead of the game. Firstly, we have DataHero, our trademarked document recognition and data extraction platform. DataHero recognizes and then extracts and enters data from key documents, saving you from having to manually enter that data yourself. It works really, really well and is a huge time saver. Another area of automation is data feeds. As Garry mentioned earlier, we have over 260 integrations and data feeds, and we're adding more all the time. Like any good SMSF administration software, SuperMate has share price and holdings data feeds. We have international share price feeds from 28 exchanges. If you can't get data feeds, you might be able to get that data via a CSV or Excel file. We have a number of file input formats that you can easily drag and drop. SuperMate has bulk corporate action processing, so you can process corporate actions across your clients, not one at a time, and this is so much faster. SuperMate has full-featured transaction rule capability, where you can set a rule and process transactions a certain way. We've built on the success of this by adding in a new transaction suggestion engine. So when processing a transaction, if SuperMate detects other similar transactions, it will ask you if you'd like to process these in the same way. This saves heaps of time, but it'll also make a transaction rule for you so that the next time you work on that fund, you're even more efficient again. Now, the last one before I jump into a quick demo is annual tax statements. Entering in all of the tax components can be a lot of work, so we've sped this up by estimating the components for your review. In addition, DataHero can be used to automatically extract the tax components for you from an annual tax statement PDF. All right, let's jump in and do a bit more of a demo. Okay, so let's see a little bit of DataHero in action. Imagine you've got a fund that doesn't have data feeds, but they've sent you the bank statement PDF. So we're going to go to the bank screen. And we're going to drag and drop the PDF in for DataHero to process. So I'll do that now. Now, in about 15 seconds, it'll extract all of the transactions for us to review. Whilst it's doing that, let's check the PDF out. Okay, so it's just a standard CBA bank statement. It's not of great quality. The scan's a bit rough, you know, a bit rough and ready. It goes over 2 pages. There's a bad line down the middle. The quality of the scan's not great. You would think this might cause some trouble for DataHero, but no, it processes it no problem at all. And you'll see when I switch back. Okay, so it's extracted all of those transactions, no problems at all, much, much faster than I could do myself. And also with, you know, less chance of error, to be honest. You know, there's no risk of typos. So you just have a quick review, it all looks good, and you can save them in. Oh, hang on, sorry. I'll click cancel because we don't need to save them in. I'm on the wrong year at the moment. Okay. Now we put the same technology into annual tax statement screen, saving you a lot of time entering in the various components. DataHero is great, and we're only just getting started with what it can do. The next thing I wanted to show you is the transaction suggestion engine. It's really cool. So I'll jump into the reconciliation area. Okay, so now just imagine that I'm processing some interest. We'll hit allocate. We'll process this to bank interest. Now, what it's done here is it's gone, you're processing this one interest payment on your bank account. We've found these other 8 that are very, very similar. Do you want to process them the same? Fantastic. So we'll hit save. And it's created the transaction rule for us as well. So the next time we're in on this fund, we're going to be even more efficient again. All right, so another part of automation is having a great API. SuperMate has a full read and write API. It's something we've doubled down on over the course of this project. It's free to use within reasonable use. We believe in consumer data right. It's your data. You shouldn't be charged for access to it or for sharing it. This means it's easier than ever for you to integrate with SuperMate. You can integrate your internal business systems with ease, and so can your key partners or suppliers. Okay, now on Lodgement. The new SuperMate makes Lodgement easy. It can do T-bar reporting, tracking T-bar events, and submitting the reports. SuperMate is fully SuperStream compliant, and all funds on SuperMate can use our SuperStream Electronic Service Address, or ESA, for free. There's no need to pay for an external provider for this. It's all included. We have rethought our annual SMSF return process and screens to make it more powerful and intuitive. We're currently working on our BAS, IAS, and PayG features. We already have them working in SuperMate Classic, and they'll be in the new SuperMate very, very soon. Okay, let's have a look at some of the Lodgement features. Okay, let's start with T-bar. There are site-wide T-bar screens, but also ones at the fund level. So if we jump back to the members pension screen, you can see when we started that pension before, it's recorded the T-bar event in here. Now let's have a look at site level. So if we go into compliance and transfer balance account, you can see all of the events listed. You can create test or production files, and then also review the production files you've generated. Now for SuperStream. So under settings, you can see the ESA details for SuperMate's, for the SuperMate system. You can also see contribution information and the rollover and release authorities. So no problems managing the SuperStream messaging. All right, so what about the annual return? Let's take a look at that. So you can run trial closes here, request actuarial certificates, perform the final close, but for now we'll jump straight into the annual return and have a look. It has the familiar, easy to use layout of the actual SMSF annual return. We've made sure that when you make changes, it flows through to various totals. So for example, if we scroll to the bottom here, we can see the gross income is 52,597. Scroll back up to the top and let's just put a 3 in here. And we can see it's automatically recalculated the gross income for us. The new annual return layout and feature set makes completing and troubleshooting so much easier. We're really, really happy with it. New staff learning SuperMate will find this method significantly easier than what's in SuperMate Classic. Okay, now when you're ready, you can proceed through the audit and signing steps, and then eventually, just discard the changes, and then eventually the lodgement. But we'll leave that for another demo. Instead, let's talk about reconciliation. Now with reconciliation, there is a lot I could show here, but in the interest of time, we'll keep it high level. SuperMate's Transaction Center makes reconciliation a breeze. You saw it briefly earlier when I used the transaction suggestion capability. We've redesigned it for fast processing and streamlined common actions. For example, when purchasing a new asset, say a collectible, in just 3 clicks, you can go from a cash transaction on the purchase to having the asset in the fund with all of the required charts configured, expenses, revenue, etc., and also have set the market value. By streamlining common actions, we've made reconciliation really fast and easy to learn for new staff. There's also property settlement worksheets built into the software. No need to have an Excel spreadsheet off to the side. The settlement worksheets make purchasing and reconciling property transactions easy. It even generates the work papers for you. As mentioned earlier, we have support for foreign currency and foreign assets. Auto reconciliation features that automatically match bank transactions with business transactions. This saves so much time. And new to SuperMate is the concept of performing a period close, which is useful to mark where you've processed up to within the year. Finally, we have holdings reconciliation screens and reports, everything you need to make sure the funds accounts are in order. There's a lot of features here though, so look out for a future webinar dedicated to reconciliation. What about documents and reporting features? SuperMate has a number of key features or capabilities in these areas. Firstly, it has a full-featured document management system, or DMS. You can generate documents or letters for your clients in SuperMate. It comes with predefined templates, or you can build your own in Microsoft Word. It has a comprehensive investment, compliance, and accounting reporting engine. You can use report suites to group and generate reports together. Finally, the above can be branded or white labeled as you need. Your company branding can be easily reflected in the letters or reports generated by SuperMate. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so branding's accessed under reports and branding. Now, SuperMate supports having multiple brands per instance. So if you were white labeling and had different service levels, it's not a problem under SuperMate. You could have different logos or branding options set up, but we'll just go into the default one. There are a number of sort of settings linked to branding. So say, for example, you can choose whether you want to show sense in financial reports or not, which is up here. And a few other options. Now down in the branding side of things, you can set your company logo. There are a couple of design sort of flourishes that can be added in. You can either upload your own image or have it automatically generate one like what's happened here. You can then set the various color palette for your reports from darker through to lightest, and then also what sort of font that you want to use. So you can make sure that the reports and letters being generated are within your company branding guidelines. All right, let's switch across to see what one of these looks like when you generate it. So over to here. Okay, so this is the front cover of a financial statements pack. You can see the logo on top right-hand corner, the little design flourish to, I guess, give it a bit of pizzazz. Oops, sorry, gone too far. Table of contents. You can also do landscape or portrait mode. We've included both in this one just as an example, but normally you just choose one or the other. And you can scroll down, we've got investment holdings report. You can see they're quite good looking reports. A little bit further down, we have a member statement. This is based on demonstration data. So obviously if this was a real client, we'd have more bar graphs in here and a bit more information. But we're really proud of our reports. We think they look great, and feedback from our clients is that they're really happy with them too. All right, now before I finish my section, there are a few other items worth mentioning quickly. We have customizable user security to suit your business needs. We've got a completely new, easy to use help system. We have a client portal. You can make use of our existing client portal, View Super, or wait for our new client portal launching later this year. We've got a great onshore software support team. And finally, security and risk. We take this area really, really seriously. We're ISO 27001 and SOC 2 Type 2 certified. Every year we're independently audited to ensure we don't ever waver from our security commitment. We're looking at obtaining other certifications too. From a data feeds perspective, the SOC 2 Type 2 certification means auditors can have greater trust in the validity and correctness of our data feeds. What's next for the new SuperMate? From only having launched a few months ago, we've come a long way. Over the next few months, we're working on journals, improved end-of-year tracking, improved property depreciation, crypto processing, the all-new trustee portal, foreign corporate actions, improved segregation, e-signing, and more data feeds. We're looking at open banking, for example, but there are a few other ones we're looking at as well. And also, we've got a few surprises up our sleeves. Now, before I hand back to Garry for the Q&A, what I've talked through today is just a small part of SuperMate's feature set. If there's something that you're interested in that I didn't cover, please reach out to myself or Garry. Chances are that SuperMate can do it. Or if it is something that it can't do, we've got a huge team building more every day, and we can prioritize it. It's a really exciting time for us at SuperMate. We've got a mandate to build a great product, and that's what we're doing. And I hope you can come on this journey with us. Thank you, and over to you, Garry.
Thanks for that, Andy. That was a really good feature overview, really exciting actually. So yeah, thanks for that deep dive. Just a few takeaways for me. Obviously, with my analytical brain and my efficiency brain, love DataHero. I think that there's some great efficiencies there that clients can pick up, not only for existing clients but for current clients as well. Plus the transaction suggestions, I think is absolutely fantastic and will save you even more time. So as you heard me rabble on about before, I'm very big on efficiencies. This will save you time, as Andy said as well. Lastly, and probably a very pertinent point given the recent rulings, or I guess information coming out of the ATO, is that T-bar will be becoming quarterly next year. So having a dedicated T-bar section in your super fund is absolutely ideal. So that's already ticked off for us. So that's absolutely fantastic as well. So yeah, thanks for that, Andy. Great stuff. So let's have a look at what the price is for SuperMate. So the next generation of our SMSF software is currently priced at $190 per annum per fund. We are offering an introductory offer of 20% off. So that means $152 per fund per annum. So that includes like all the things that Andy had spoke about. So API access, SuperStream, DataHero, your reconciliations, ability to get stuff from the bank, from the registry, all those kinds of things, ESA, all built in to that price. So that special introductory offer, if you register before the 31st of December 2022, we'll give you that price, and that price is effective for 12 months. So you can rest assured that that's your price that you're locked in, and you get some efficiencies and you get some cost savings and you get some clear understanding as to what your prices will be. So that's really a great offer. All right, with all that being said, and I think we've gone through pretty well, we're up to our Q&A session. So thank you to everyone who pre-polled some questions with us, which was really great. What I'm going to do is throw some of those to myself and Andy. So we'll try and cover off on as many as we can in the next, say, 10, 15 minutes. And if there's something that you've got on your mind, please just drop it in the chat. We'll try and get to it if we can. If we can't, we'll try and reach out to you personally, or provide that as part of an FAQ, so you don't miss out. So the first one I've got, Andy, and this is probably directed at you, mate. Let me just have a look. Sorry, just bear with me a sec. Electronic signatures, when will they be available?
All right, so with electronic signing, we're looking at that in the second half of this year. So yeah, it will be in by the end of the year. We haven't commenced the work on this yet. If there is an e-signing provider that you're in particular wanting us to engage with, please let us know so that we can take this into our thinking when we're working with these providers. But we're really keen to get it in there.
Perfect, that's great. It's great to hear. Sorry, I'm also reading at the same time. As a classic user, we've got a client here asking, what will happen if we don't switch? Will we automatically be transferred?
No, nothing like that. So we are in this unique position where we've got a number of big institutional clients using SuperMate Classic. And what that means is that there's no rush on us stopping to support it or closing it down or any of those kinds of things, because these clients aren't going to move. They need SuperMate Classic, which means we need to keep it alive and keep it working for everybody. So if our current clients out there see use and value in using SuperMate Classic, then by all means you're safe there. We're not going to force you to move or any of those kinds of things. Of course, we hope in time that when you start trialing the new SuperMate, that you recognize and see the benefits of the faster processing and all the additional tools like DataHero and open banking and all these other things we're going to be bringing in soon, that it makes sense for you to move across, but the choice will be yours. We won't be forcing you.
Yeah, that's great, Andy. So that's probably covering back off that is another question is how long will the classic iteration of the software be supported? And I think you kind of touched on that, but maybe if you want to add anything on that.
Yeah, so we've got no plans to end support on it anytime soon. As I said, we've got to keep it working for our institutional clients. So I think, on a time horizon scale, I'm thinking, 4 or 5 years plus, down that kind of pathway. It's not like a situation that has occurred recently with some of the other providers.
Very nice. And as a classic client, I think you probably touched on that before. We don't need to migrate. They're happy to stay where they are. So we're not, as Andy said, we're not making anyone move. If you're on classic, you can certainly stay. There's no need to migrate. So that's
sorry, just on that quickly, Gary. So there's actually, for our SuperMate Classic clients, there's actually no migration between SuperMate Classic and the new SuperMate either. You could have both up and process a transaction in one, and then switch across to the other, do some processing and make some changes, then jump straight back into the other on the same fund concurrently. There's no problem there. There's no migration whatsoever, which means that if you're evaluating us from another provider, and you see value in SuperMate Classic because that better suits your business model, then there's no future migration that you're going to need to go to get across to the SuperMate web.
That's a really valid point, Andy. Like, there's nothing stopping you if you like something that's in Classic to use some of the Classic features, but then also dip your toes in the new software, so you can mix and match along the way. So you might have clients that are strictly share, or they have no data feeds, and you might want to use SuperMate Classic, but at the same time you might have people that use foreign currency or property or anything like that. Then the new SuperMate is perfect for that. So having a mix in your business isn't a bad thing. Obviously, we would, as Andy said, we would all love you to be on SuperMate, the new version at some point, but we're not forcing anyone to do anything at this point. So thanks for answering those, Andy. That's perfectly summarized. Now we head to the questions that have come through the chat as we've been going. So fantastic. As I said, if we don't get to them, apologies. We'll try and get to as many as we can. We just may run out of time, but if we don't, we'll circle back around, include them in an FAQ if they're pertinent ones, or reach out to you directly to make sure that you're looked after as well. So George has asked a question, and I think I can probably handle this one, Andy. It says, don't you need to do pension documents and actuarial certificates? Are you saying that SuperMate can provide the legal documents for a pension? First and foremost, you probably need to see a financial planner to ensure that you can do a pension. So you need an SOA. So we can't give you that information. That's not on us. We can give you general information, general advice, and say you can start a pension. Now, the beauty of SuperMate is it does all of the minutes and the letters and all that kind of stuff inside the software. So it'll produce a pension statement, letters to and from the member to the super fund. It'll produce minutes to ratify the pension. So it'll do all that kind of stuff, which is perfectly okay for an administrator to do. What it won't do is write the SOA for you to make sure that you can do that in the first place. So hopefully that answers off on that, George. The software is very unique in that it can do all of that stuff all inside the software. You don't have to go out and go anywhere else to get it. It's all done inside SuperMate. So let's have a look and see what else we've got here. I think I had one here for you, Andy. Okay. So here's another one. I'm already using SuperMate. Do I need to move to the new super fund? If I change, what is the difference in cost? You might want to handle that one, Andy.
Sorry, that was a question from the existing SuperMate Classic client who's wondering what is the cost to switch.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we do have a special deal for our existing Classic clients who are wanting to come across. Probably best to reach out to myself or Gary, and we can run through the options there. The other thing is that you can actually, and I think this might be aligning to one of the other questions I've seen, if you're in SuperMate Classic, you can work on a fund in the new SuperMate up to 5 individual session times. So it means that you can actually trial on your existing funds and see whether it's suitable for your business or not.
Fantastic, great work. Thanks, Andy. I do have one here that I know is in the pipeline, and I think you might have touched on it before, but let's get some more information on it. Emily has asked, have you added a depreciation module with depreciation schedule reporting capability in the new software?
So depreciation is one of the areas in SuperMate Classic that we've always wanted to do better. And at the moment, we've got the product design team working away to really uplift the capability in there. So it'll be very, very soon in the new SuperMate in an enhanced and streamlined way.
Awesome, thanks for that. That's a really, I think that'll be a really big, game changer for us is the ability to do depreciation. We've always been able to do it. From everything that I've seen, I think it looks really great, and I think clients will be really happy with the way it's going to.
Yeah. So what with the slight delay on that one, we could have lifted and shifted it from SuperMate Classic to the new SuperMate, but what we want to do is really improve it. And so we've taken a little bit more time. It's gone through our software product design stage, so all of the feature sets been designed and what we call storied. It's now with the software development teams to build and roll out into the product. So its release is imminent.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. Thanks, Andy. What else have we got here? Sorry. Yes, I have a one here. This is an interesting one, and I'm not sure if we've thought about it. We probably have thought about it, but I'm not sure if where we're at. So let's have a look. I have my own, from Lynn. I have my own SMSF. I'm interested in your software for my own use. Will it be suited for this purpose?
Good question. So, so I guess from my perspective, so maybe I might rewind to something that you touched on really, really early at the start, where you were talking about, Garry, you mentioned around learning new software. Is it like learning a new language or not? And we recently had a client come across, they had no experience with formal SMSF administration software whatsoever. And within their first week, they'd already lodged 2 funds. It is easy to use. We think end clients could potentially use it. However, we're not currently targeting that area. It's something where, we'd consider down in the future, perhaps. But at the moment, we're targeting the bulk clients. We've got a 5 fund limit. So if you're an individual and you're willing to pay the 5 fund minimum, then by all means you could jump on and use it. There are a few things that you would need to be across, to make sure that you are doing the right thing. You need a tax agent. There's a number of other things that you need to be across, and we could go into that in more detail if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that's, probably, I think we've discussed at high levels in our business for a while, is the ability to give clients access to be able to do their work themselves. I don't think we're quite there yet, but certainly if you want to, as Andy said, jump on and do that at the minimum, that's absolutely fine. There's no stopping you from doing that, but there are restrictions. As Andy said, you won't be able to lodge through there if you don't have a tax agent license, et cetera, et cetera. So whilst a trustee edition is great in theory, it probably takes a little bit longer to flesh out how that's going to work for you and for your fund. So so watch this space. Might be something coming later on.
Yeah, I think from an ease of use perspective, absolutely, it's possible. It's designed really, really easy. It's still got the power of SuperMate Classic, but it's so much easier to use. We think it's we've made leaps and bounds in terms of its usability and how quickly you can get up and running. Do we offer it into the direct, the fully self-managed? It's a question for the future us, I think.
Absolutely. So it's a great question.
I'd love to chat more about it.
Yeah, of course. So we've got about 5 minutes left and still a couple to go here. We've got one here that says, when will DataHero actually be ready for use if we switch from classic to new? My understanding is it's already available. You can use it straight out of the gate.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Yeah. We've recently made some improvements as well to speed it up. So previously, when we were dragging and dropping documents in, it was taking around 20 seconds. We've knocked off 5 seconds off its processing time for bank statements, which is really good. As we move through this year, we'll be able to put more and more resourcing into the DataHero capability.
Cool, excellent.
We've got some really cool stuff planned for it as well. Like around, potentially email boxes for funds, things like that, where we could have kind of batch processing using DataHero to really, really empower firms.
All right, another one about the pricing. I'm getting a few of these. Sorry, this is from Nikki. Once we use the new software, do we start on the pricing straight away, or do we have a trial period? Current client or classic?
Yeah, so this is a little bit like what I was mentioning before. You can open a fund and do work on it in 5 sessions. So not just like one open, it's a session. So, in that time, you can get a pretty good experience of using the new SuperMate. And there's a little warning in the software that lets you know how many times you've opened a fund or how many sessions you've got left before it will move across to the charging. So anyone who's on Classic now could jump in and have a play. And as long as they're paying attention to that little warning, and they could avoid triggering moving across to the new SuperMate pricing if they're concerned about it.
Yeah, cool. As we said, we can mix and match along the way. Another one from Nikki is the DMS in the new SuperMate. I think you already touched on that in the discussion before. So yeah, absolutely is. You can drag and drop your documents in there at all. I did see one in here about a document provider. Let me just have a look. And this might be one where we can talk about our integrations a little bit more and who we want to use, et cetera, et cetera. Can you tell, sorry, from German, can you tell me if SuperMate has integration with any legal provider to order deed updates or pension documents? So I know that in SuperMate Classic we had
so we had one in SuperMate Classic, but that service was closed. So we do have a couple of firms in mind for integrating with. We think it's only a matter of time. Our enhanced API makes it really, really easy for other companies who are offering professional services to work with SuperMate. So yeah, watch this space. It'll be coming soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Andy. Well, I think we're just about at time. I can't. There's obviously a lot more. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. I don't think we have anything else that we can touch on here. So I think we might call that. Thanks for the Q&A, guys. That was really. I think you'll find it really positive.
Sorry, Gary. There was just one I just noticed. It just came out really quickly.
Yeah.
Assume the software lodges direct with the ATO. Yes, that's correct. Yes. It lodges with the ATO. We're fully ATO DSP, digital service provider accredited. That adds to our security and risk credentials as well. Because obviously, if you're working with the ATO, they want to know that you're running a tight shop. And but yeah, we lodge directly with the ATO.
Yeah, I've seen that before, even in Classic, people asking if it lodges with the ATO. Yeah, absolutely. Like the both softwares lodge directly with the ATO. You don't need to go out, put it into Xero or Mile or anything to lodge it, rekey it. You can do it all in SuperMate. So another efficiency. You keep adding to the efficiencies. So as I said, we're just about at time. So what I might do is close it up there. If we have any further questions, we'll make them available in FAQ, as I said. We'll also circulate that via an email. And if there's anything that is specific to you or your site that you've asked, we'll get one of our guys to get in contact with you as quickly as they can. So I do want to thank you for your time today. And thanks, Andy. Thanks for coming on and sharing the roadmap and everything that's going on in SuperMate. It's really exciting, and you and your team have done a great job to get it to where it is, and it's going from strength to strength. Obviously, if you're a new client or you're looking to come across to SuperMate, please reach out to myself. You should have my details on the screen. You can get me via email or on the phone. Come to my house. Don't mind how you get to me, but just come see me, and I'm more than happy to assist you in any way. I want to thank you for coming along with us, and we look forward to doing this all again real soon. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Gary.